Another one which is going to happen in the next few years is the national pension system. The national pension system, which is again built on top of the infrastructure of the NSDL, will allow every person in the country in any nook and corner to create a pension account and make sure that the pension account at the lowest cost is able to be given to different investment managers to invest in either equity or bond markets. So we are actually seeing a huge transformation because these applications tend to be large, they are scalable, they have a national footprint, they're cheap, they can have low transaction costs, and because they're implemented in one go, they can take an entire sector and bring in huge productivity in those sectors. And I think that's the big story that's happening today. And I'm convinced that as India becomes a knowledge economy, these kind of things will really have a huge impact. Now, when we start looking forward, we find, however, that there are a few things that have to be done to really take the application of technology within India to the next level. And that's what I would call as the information infrastructure. And the information infrastructure is as important as physical infrastructure, as important as the roads and the ports and the airports and the flyovers is the information infrastructure. And what is it with information infrastructure that we need? And I think really there are really four elements to this. One is, this is still a country which does not have a single way of identifying a citizen. There is no citizen ID in this country. And therefore, when you get a passport, you get a passport number. When you file taxes, you get an identification number. When you get a ration card, you get a ration card number. Everybody has their own number. I think each of us has 10, 15 numbers. And the fundamental reason for that is we have not invested in creating a single risk application of that era. And so I think that's one big thing that is missing in our information infrastructure, which is really having a single unique way of identifying citizens. And there are many projects are put across the country where people are doing it in pockets. But that is something, if we can really create, will be one building block in what I would call as the information infrastructure. The second building block in the information infrastructure is really creating a global, a national dematerialized facility for land. Again, in many parts of the world, land is dematerialized, land trading is online, the way you register it, the way you do land titling, the way you pay taxes, it's all done. Unfortunately, for historic reasons, because land in India is a state subject, because the way the land is recorded is different in different parts of the country because of different zamindari systems, because it's different in the princely state, we have a huge legacy of cleaning up our land records. And again, there have been many projects at the state level. Bhumi in Karnataka is a good example, where we have done land records and electronification of land records at the state level. But what is really required to make land really, the big thing is really to create a national register of land records so that all over the country people can do land transactions, you know who the owners are, and several of the problems today that we have with land, whether it's the SEZ land or this land or that, all the problems that we have are really ultimately because of lack of information, lack of documentation, lack of ownership, litigation, and a lot of that really by addressing the issue of creating a national land registry. The third part of what I call as this information infrastructure is the ability to reach everyone with a financial transaction. We have talked about citizen ID, and we know that the banking system is getting rolled out. We know that there are many projects for microfinance, but the ultimate end game in that is that every citizen must have some kind of a financial account. That account could be for the purpose of banking, it could be the purpose of insurance, pension, microfinance, whatever. But ultimately, and that's entirely doable, because if you have a national telecom network, and if you have citizen ID, and the banking system and the microfinance system reaches everybody, then automatically you can have everybody to have some kind of a financial account. And that's the key to the next revolution, because today the challenge we have is, while there is a huge amount of social spending in India, that social spending is either not reaching the right people, or there's a huge amount of loss of transmission along the way. If you remember, Rajiv Gandhi talked about 15% of the money is only reaching the people, and Rahul Gandhi says only 5%. So you can see the loss of transmission that's happening in the money is going to the people. And therefore, there's a whole new way you can think of giving benefits to the people in direct models, direct benefits, negative income tax, direct cash benefits. And all that will require identification and having financial transaction capability at the individual level. And again, entirely possible with the technology and all the other pieces that we have. And the third piece of this information infrastructure in my mind is really having distribution channels which can reach information to everybody. because we have to assume that everybody will not have access to a computer or a PDA. But ultimately, if you have people who take the data and are able to print it out, have community radios or have something in every panchayat, you can actually create a distribution strategy where information reaches out hugely. And I think this information infrastructure is as important as the physical infrastructure, as important as the roads, as important as ports, is really creating the information infrastructure of citizen identification, land identification, financial accounting, and creating distribution channels. And that is really what is required. I think we have already demonstrated. I gave you at least 7 or 8 examples of how India has used technology effectively for transformation, whether it's banking or insurance or tax or whatever. But the next milestone, or the next leap forward, is if we can create this information infrastructure. I believe there's a whole new set of applications that can have a huge impact on development. We can use it for education, we can use it for distribution of healthcare, we can use it for financial inclusion, we can use it for creating an open democracy, because the very flow of information can be shared publicly so that people are aware of what's happening in government. We can use it to improve the quality of public service delivery, we can improve the targeting of benefits that we give people, and we can convert our entire subsidy system into something which is much more targeted and much more direct. And I think that's the big opportunity that we have. And therefore, I really believe that while the export story is something we are all proud of, and we talk about it, I think the way that Indian IT industry has contributed to India's change is also a huge story. And if we get the Indian information structure right, then there's lots more that can be done to really create a fully developed country. Thank you very much.